Hi, my wonderful crochet friends. My name is Ashley. In today's tutorial, we will be learning how to make this really beautiful cowl. So now I have two different cowls here. They are the same pattern, just two different yarns. This cream colored here, this here is my original pattern. Very nice. Very nice. And so what I had done was when I designed this pattern, I was very much thinking of my favorite, best all-time favorite crochet channel, the one that I have learned so much from over the years. Every time I make anything like an advanced pattern or complicated stitch work, or anything with like trebles, 3D shells, double crochets, front post, back post double crochets, anything along that nature, I always think of Mikey from the Crochet Crowd. Mikey from the Crochet Crowd, he was the main channel, the main crochet channel. Always went back to over and over and over. I learned so much from him. I love that channel. It's my favorite all-time best channel. So yeah, every time I design something like this, I'm always thinking of him. And I want this to be for Mikey. So Mikey, if you're watching, I love you. I love the Crochet Crowd so much, and this is for you. So what I had done here was I originally started off with this pattern here, but I decided it needed just a little changing, just a little. I started off down here, and I wanted the top to match the bottom. Plus, I wanted the top to also have some strength so that it didn't fall. I wanted it to definitely stand up, definitely around the face or around the neck area. So I changed the pattern up just a tiny bit just to make it more functional, to definitely make it match from the top to bottom. So this is it right here. So this is the one that I changed a little bit, and I definitely think this works better. It's basically the same functional pattern, one row repeat. It's just the top and bottom rows are a little different than what someone would traditionally make. And this is it. Isn't that beautiful? I love how the top is. I love it. I love how you can see from even far away. Yes, it has like, it almost kind of reminds me of like a fishbone pattern. But then here at the top, you have your triangle look. I love it. I absolutely love it. And with this yarn here is a little bit of a bulkier 4-weight yarn. So it definitely has like some stiffness to it. It helps to stand up, and I really like that as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about these two different yarns here. So same pattern, two different yarns, using two different types of hooks. So this yarn right here, this yarn is a softer, less bulkier, medium 4-weight yarn. And this right here, this one right here, this is a little bit of a bulkier 4-weight yarn. So I use two different size hooks for these yarns. So if you would like to make this pattern in a yarn like this one right here, this cream colored one, or actually this is an ivory, this is called ivory, and I will give you the instructions so that you can make it with this type of yarn, or I will give you the instructions so you can make it with a bulkier type of yarn. This colorful yarn right here, this is Red Heart Super Saver Color Block. So it's got a lot of different color changes that are separated and timed a certain way so that the colors shift. I like that because it's so mixed up. And this is a really, really pretty yarn. You will definitely stand out in the crowd with this yarn. I think this would look great on male or female, boy or girl. And the same with a regular solid color yarn as well. For this medium 4-weight yarn, this ivory, I used a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. That's an H size hook. For this Super Saver color block right here, I used a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, and that is a K size hook. For whichever size you want to use for either type of yarn, I have the foundational chain stitch count for you. So we're going to start with the Red Heart Super Saver first, and we will be using a 6.5 K hook for this yarn. And for a size small, you will need to chain out 70 chains. For a size medium, you will need to chain out 80 chains. For a size large, you will need to chain out 90 chains. And for an infinity scarf, which will be 60 inches all the way around, you will need to chain 150 chains. Now, for both yarns, the size small is going to be a 22-inch cowl. For a medium, it will be a 26-inch cowl. For a large, it will be a 30-inch cowl. And the infinity scarf will be a 60-inch cowl infinity scarf. Now for this yarn right here, this yarn is Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn. I used a 5.5 millimeter hook, which is an H hook. For a size small, you will need to chain out 70 chains. For a medium, you will need to chain out 85 chains. For a size large, you will need to chain out 100 chains. And for an infinity scarf, which is 60 inches all the way around, you will need to chain 200 chains. The yarn I will be using for this tutorial is the same yarn I used for this colorful blue scarf here. This is Red Heart Super Saver color block in the color Liquid Teal. For this pattern, I will be using a K 6.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I definitely recommend using an ergonomic handled crochet hook. And this helps me to make really great double crochets and trebles every time. I have definitely learned this hook here is great, definitely great for making double crochets and trebles. And you can get this hook singly itself, or you can get it in a pack. Like here, I got this 12-piece pack, and you can get, 12 different hooks, all with handles. Ergo crochet hook set, Boy brand. I like this brand. Definitely like these hooks. So yeah. So let's get started. To begin, we just need a little bit of a yarn tail. We will make our slip knot. Our multiple for this pattern is the number 5. And this pattern will be worked up exactly the same, no matter what yarn you use or no matter the size that you choose to make. For this tutorial, I will be making the size medium. I will be chaining 80 chains. Once you've made the correct amount of chains for your size, we will now follow along the front of our chain all the way until the end, till we reach the very first chain. I'm going to reposition my hand. I'm going to turn it around just like this. I want to insert my hook right under that top loop here, not under these two loops here, just under that one loop at the top. I'm going to scrunch it together here. I'm going to grab the working yarn. I'm going to move that yarn tail out of the way. I'm going to yarn over and pull it through that loop. And you see it's just under that very top back loop there. And then I'm going to slip stitch join. And this will keep my work from twisting. So for row 1, we will be working into the back bump. That is what I'm going to do to keep a very nice edge. That way the bottom edge will pretty much match the top edge. It'll look much better. So we are going to be making single crochets for row 1. So we will need to chain 1 for a single crochet, and I'm just going to twist this around. So here's my stitch, my first stitch here that I slip stitch joined. You will see this loop that crosses over. That is my back bump there. Make a single crochet. And you'll see the back bumps here going all the way down. Those are the back bumps of each chain. So in each back bump right here, so I'm going to go in, and I'm going to try to hook that back bump there. I'm just going to make a single crochet. So I'm just going to go in, and then usually grabbing it with the tip of that hook helps. So we're just making one single crochet in each chain. I'm just going to go in there and just try to hook that back loop, or back bump, I mean. And when I do this, I'm squeezing this yarn with these 2 fingers. So I'm squeezing it to make it tight, so when I yarn over, it helps to make that good single crochet. And that is what you will do for row 1 all the way around your entire chain until you reach the end. Make sure your stitch count is a multiple of 5, because we will need that stitch count for the next row. And for me, for a size medium, with this Red Heart Super Saver color block yarn, I need 80 single crochets, just like I did 80 chains. So go ahead and finish up this row, and I will meet you back at the end. I'm at the end of row 1 here. So I'm gonna go in and go into that back bump, make that last single crochet. Before I slip stitch join, I need to make sure that my ring here is straight. And just because it twists does not mean that it's going to stay twisted once you slip stitch join. So if you see here, this needs to be at the bottom. So I need to twist this back. And sometimes you just have to flip it around a couple times. But all in all, just make sure that you have your slip knot down here underneath the ring at the bottom of the ring. And then just make sure when you pull, it pulls evenly the way around. And here, this is not a stitch. This is just my my slip stitch join. But very importantly, this right here that you see, that is not a stitch. We will use this as a stitch on the 3rd row. So I just wanted to let you all know ahead of time, this right here will be used as a stitch on the 3rd row. But for now, we are skipping over that, and we are going to slip stitch join in the first single crochet of the row. For row 2, we will be chaining 2 chains for double crochets. So in our very first chain here, the same chain, we will make 1 double crochet. So right now we are building our height for our 3D trebles. We will be making 1 double crochet in each chain all the way around, keeping our stitch count of a multiple of 5. Go ahead and continue making 1 double crochet in each chain all the way around, keeping a multiple of 5, and I will meet you back at the end. I am at the end of row 2 here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to skip over these chains, and I am going to slip stitch join into that first double crochet of our row. For row 3, we will chain 3 for a front post treble. And what we will do now is we are going to make our front post treble directly below into that slip stitch join chain 1 of row 1, just like we talked about before. There we go. We will wrap that yarn around our hook twice. We are going to pinch and we are going to dip down. We are going to insert and go around that right there, that slip stitch join and chain 1. We're going to yarn over and pull that through. We have 4 loops on our hook here. We are going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And the reason why we are making this around that slip stitch join chain 1 is because we're working in the round, and we are going to keep going in the same direction every row. And when you tend to do that, everything tends to lean. It'll all kind of lean. So I did not want to make that front post treble in that first single crochet because it will make it offset. We want this to go straight up. So our next step now is to make a split shell. So we are just going to pull this out of the way here. Our very first chain where we slip stitch joined into, we are going to make 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, all in that same chain. So we will yarn over once, wrapping the yarn around our hook once. We will dip down into that chain, and we are going to make a double crochet. And we are going to finish off this split shell here with 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, all in that same chain. Now it is time to make another front post treble, and we need to do that going around that same slip stitch join chain 1 on row 1, just like we did for our first front post treble. So we are going to wrap that yarn around our hook twice. We will pinch, well first we will turn, we need to turn our work upside down. So I'm looking at it upside down. Here's where we made that first front post treble. So we're going to go in and from behind and around that same stitch there that we created, and yarn over, and I'm just going to fold all this and pinch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And now we have a beautiful 3D shell here with our beautiful trebles in the front. Our multiple is 5, so what we need to do now, that means our this main stitch pattern right here is going to go into the 5th stitch away. So that means we need to skip 4 chains. So what we will do, and this method might help you all. What I have here is I have a few strands here. They're just about 4 or 5 inch yarn strands. And this might help. So what we are going to do now is, here's the stitch we made our front post trebles in. So we are going to count to the 5th one away. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets away. And I'm just going to insert in the front and go around on the other side of that single crochet. And I'm just going to, I have this in between both fingers, and I'm just going to pinch it, yarn over, and pull that through. And that helps for me to know 5 single crochets away, I will make my first front post treble around that stitch right there. And then our split shell that we have here, which is behind and in between these 2 trebles, we are going to do the same thing. So we're going to count 5 chains away. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in that 5th chain there, we are going to make our split shell. Right there. So I will insert my hook back into that loop and prepare for a front post treble. So I will wrap that yarn around my hook twice. I will go over here, I will pinch and I will bring it down. I'm going to go in the front and around the back and go out the other side of that single crochet there. And I like to reposition my yarn. So I'm just going to reposition it, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over and pull through two. We yarn over for a double crochet into the 5th double crochet away. We'll go in and I will make that split shell. 2 double crochet, chain 2, back into that same chain, 2 double crochets. I need to go back into that same single crochet where I made that front post treble. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook twice. I'm just going to turn. I'm going to pinch. I'm going to find that stitch there. And I'm just going to do the same thing as before, reposition my yarn. That just helps me to make my perfect trebles and make that front post treble there. So what we did for the second set is exactly what we will do all the way around. So what I will do now is I will just push this away, find that next single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to wrap that yarn around my hook, pinch, bring it down, go around that single crochet, reposition my yarn, pinch all that, and make my front post treble. Now I will go up, find my next empty chain. So here's my next empty chain up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I will yarn over, go into that 5th double crochet, and make my split shell. And go upside down here, wrap that around my hook twice, pinch, and I'm holding this tight with these 2 fingers. I'm going to go in around that and then make that front post treble. So this is your repeat pattern here for row 3. You will repeat all of this into the 5th chain away. And I will meet you back at the end and we will slip stitch join and begin row 4. We are at the end of row 3 here. So what we will do now is we will now skip over those chains and we will slip stitch join into the chain of that front post treble. So we will just slip stitch join So for row 4, we are fundamentally repeating row 3, but in a slightly different way. So we will now chain 3 for our front post treble. What we will do now is, so here is our chain 2 space. We need to make our front post trebles right here in the same chain that we made this split shell. So we will wrap our yarn around our hook twice. We are going to go into that very same chain that we made that very first split shell. We're going to go in, and then we're going to come back out through that center of that shell. I need to just swing my working yarn over so it lines up. I'm going to go up, yarn over, pull it through that stitch. I'm just going to pinch everything, and I'm going to complete that treble. Now we will make our split shell right here in the center of this split shell in that chain 2 space. So we will yarn over for our double crochet. We will go right into the center of that chain 2 space and make that split shell. So we'll make 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, all in that same space there. Now we need to make another front post treble, and we are going to make it in that very same chain that we made our first front post treble. So in order to do that, we will wrap our yarn around our hook twice. We will turn our work upside down. Here's that treble, and there's that chain that we made our split shell in. So what we need to do is we need to pinch right here. We're going to go into that center space there. So we're going to go into that center space and back out that chain that split shell was made in. I need to swing my working yarn over so it lines up right in between that split shell. Yarn over and pull that through. I'm just going to pinch everything, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So we have our 3D shells stacked right on top of one another. We will repeat what we did here in each chain here and in each chain 2 space here. We will do that in each 3D shell all the way around. I will make one more with you. I will wrap my yarn around my hook twice. I'm going to dip down into that chain that I made that split shell. I'm going to go through the center and pop my hook out through the center, swing my yarn around, yarn over, and pull through and complete that treble. In this chain 2 space here, I'm going to make that split shell. Two double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Now I need to turn my work either to the side or upside down, and I'm pulling this tight, so I'm wrapping that around my hook. twice. I'm going into the center and out through that bottom stitch there. Swing my yarn around so it sits right in between that split shell. Yarn over and pull that through. And now I will complete that treble. Go ahead and complete row 4, stacking your 3D shells on top of your 3D shells, and I will meet you back at the end to slip stitch join and prepare for row 5. I am at the end of row 4. I need to skip over that chain 3 and slip stitch join into the chain of my first front post treble. For row 5, we need to chain 3, and we are repeating this pattern. So what we will do now is we will make our front post treble right here in the chain that we made our split shell. We will wrap our yarn around our hook twice. We will pinch, we will go into that chain 2 space there where we made our split shell. We will come out in between that split shell and that chain 2 space. Pull our yarn right here in between the shell, yarn over, and make that front post treble. Yarn over for a double crochet, go into that chain 2 space in between that split shell and make a split shell. We need to make another front post treble. Wrap our yarn around our hook twice, holding this tight. Turn our work. We're going to pinch and we are going to go into that chain 2 space in between that shell and come out the other through the other chain 2 space where we made our split shell. Reposition my yarn, yarn over, and then complete that treble. And this right here for row 5 will be your exact repeat pattern, which we're pretty much repeating this pattern over and over, but now for each row we will go into that chain 2 space there where we made that split shell, and that's where we will go in to make our trebles. And we will repeat this all the way around for row 5, and we will repeat row 5. So for a size small, you will repeat row 5 until you complete row 10. So for a size medium, you will repeat row 5 until you complete row 11. And for a large cowl, you will repeat row 5 until you complete row 12. And I will make one more stacked 3D shell with you right here. So I'm going to make my front post treble. So I need to find that chain 2 space there, right below that split shell, in between those trebles. So I'm going to go in and from behind and go out through that center, reposition my yarn, yarn over, complete that treble, go up to that chain 2 space in between my shell and make that split shell. Go back into that same chain 2 space and finish that split shell. I need to make that next front post treble to match this front post treble. We'll wrap the yarn around my hook twice, and technically you don't have to turn your work upside down now. You can technically just dip right down in that space and back out underneath. Just reposition that yarn right there in the middle, yarn over and pull it through, and I just pinch it all, bunch it all up just so I can see that working yarn and my treble really well. And there you go. So you will just keep repeating this. It's looking fantastic so far. Continue on till you complete row 5. Make sure that you slip stitch join right there into that chain for that treble. Sometimes when you're doing a continuous pattern, sometimes it's easy to skip that slip stitch join. So just remember to do that and complete the amount of rows that you need for your size, and I will meet you back. This is the size medium, so I will repeat row 5 until I complete row 11. So after I do that, I will meet you back and we will begin the next row. I also wanted to chime in and say, if you're having trouble gripping your yarn for good tension, putting lotion and moisturizing your hands definitely helps to have a better grip on your yarn. So that always helps as well. I am at the end of row 11 for a size medium. It is exactly 26 inches around, which is perfect. So once you reach the end of your 1 row repeat, we will slip stitch join like before. Now what we will do for our next row, we need to, so this is designed for the top to match the bottom here. So in order to do that, we are going to need to have a straight line going across the top of these shells, connecting into the shells and coming across, connecting into the shell, coming across, connecting to the top of the shell. So to do that, we are going to chain 1. In the same chain here, we will make 1 single crochet. And in order to keep our stitch count, our multiple of 5 going, we need to make 4 chains and then 1 single crochet right here in the top of this chain 2 space. And when we do this, we need to make it loose, the chain. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We will go right into this chain 2 space, make 1 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Into the next chain 2 space and single crochet. This is our repeat for this row. We will repeat this all the way around until the very end of this row. At the end of the row, after you make your last single crochet, we are now just going to jump over and slip stitch join, but in order to keep our count correct for a multiple of 5, we are going to slip stitch join in the first chain. So we are going to skip over that first single crochet, and we are going to slip stitch join into that first chain directly after the single crochet. For our next row, we will chain 3. Our chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet. So what we will do next, we are going to double crochet across these chains into the single crochet, across the chains, and into the single crochet. So we will go directly into that next chain and make a double crochet. If you would like, you could always just insert in and around the chain itself and make a double crochet like that. But for myself, I am going directly into the chain. And what I need you to do is I need you to keep your count of 5. So this chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So that means we have 2 double crochets. I will go into the next chain for the 3rd double crochet. This next chain here, it got twisted a little bit when I made that single crochet, but it is there. So I will go into that chain, make a single crochet. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I will now go into the next chain, and that is 5. I'm going to go into the next chain. So that is 1, to the next chain, 2, next chain, 3, next chain, 4, next chain is 5. So we are repeating 5 and 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. We will do this all the way around until we complete the last double crochet in that last single crochet right there. Once you have finished your last double crochet, I have exactly 80 double crochets, and that is counting this chain 3 as a double crochet. I will now slip stitch join in the chain 3. So I will count 1, 2, 3. I will slip stitch join in that top of that chain 3 chain. For our next row, we will chain 1, and now we are going to repeat our trebles. So we need to make trebles just like we did before on these 2 front post trebles here. So we are going to wrap our yarn around our hook twice. We are going to dip back down. We're going to go right below that top split shell. We're going to go below. We're going to go behind and come out in between that split shell and that chain 2 space. Readjust my yarn, yarn over, pull through, and complete that front post treble. our next step, we will find our next empty chain, our next empty double crochet chain, and we will make one single crochet. In the next 4 chains, we will make one single crochet in each. Now we need to make another treble, just like we did before. We will wrap our yarn around our hook twice, turn our work, we will go in that top chain 2 space. We're going to go in, go behind that split shell, and out the chain 2 space from below. Yarn over and pull through and complete our treble. We are going to repeat what we just done all the way around. So we will now begin our next front post treble. We will dip down and repeat. We will go into that chain 2 space under that split shell. We are just repeating what we've done before. We will find our next empty unworked chain and begin making 5 single crochets across. Go into this next empty chain and make a single crochet. And after you make your 5th single crochet, make your next front post treble. And this is our repeat. Continue on repeating this pattern all the way around until the end. I will meet you back at the end for our next step. Once you reach the end of your row, after you make your last front post treble, we will now go into the chain of your first front post treble and slip stitch join. For our last row, we will chain 1. In our first chain, we will make 1 slip stitch. We will continue making 1 slip stitch into each single crochet all the way around. We will skip over our 2 treble chains. So I will just skip right over and go directly into the next chain and continue with my slip stitches. And this will give us a really nice clean edge for the top of our cowl. We are now at the end of our last row. And I just have a couple more slip stitches here. So I'm going to slip stitch into that last chain. I'm going to skip over that chain one, go directly into that stitch of the row and slip stitch. Now all we have to do is weave in our yarn ends. We'll just pull that, tighten to bind off. I'm going to grab my yarn needle. We'll go back into that same chain here. I'm going to pull it. It's going to pull that slip stitch join through that chain and into the back. I'm going to flip my work. I'm looking at the inside of the cowl. And now I just want to weave in through some stitch threads here to hide this yarn tail. I'm just going down through these stitches here. And really there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just go through the threads that you feel is comfortable for you. And I want to thank you all for watching my video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this free pattern. And if you have not checked out the Crochet Crowd yet, I'd highly recommend looking them up and watching their videos. They have tons of expert professional videos. The Crochet Crowd, they've been around for a very long time, and they're highly skilled at what they do. I've learned a ton from them. They have actually helped me to become as good as a crocheter as I am. And I really, really like their channel. Really, really like their content, their free patterns. They have lots of lessons from beginner to advanced. You can learn a lot from them, just like I have. So I'm just trying to hide this on the inside here. Just going in through these threads in all sorts of directions. Going in different directions and then going down, going through, going back up. That really helps. So if you wash this, that way these this yarn tail won't go, it won't unravel basically. This yarn tail won't unravel if you go in different directions. But thank you all so much, and I will see you guys soon. Oh, the next tutorial is also going to be a cowl. Next cowl tutorial, I designed it for Daniel from the Crochet Crowd. This one's for Mikey. Next one is definitely a surprise. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's definitely going to be crocheted. It's going to be crocheted with some bulky weight yarn. And we are going to incorporate some faux fur into that cowl. It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. And can't wait for you all to join me. So, see you guys really, really soon. Thank you so much for watching.